Hey guys, Andrew Dowland from Northland's Mechatronics program. In this video we're going to be talking about chip loads, feed rates, RPMs, and setting up your library for tools in your ShopSaber CNC router. So I ordered a ShopSaber and I said, hey, I want a whole bunch of tools, and it came with a variety of different solid carbide tools. So turns out these tools are very specific in how they need to be set up and used. So let's get into some details here. All right, so I've got a hideaway sign from before, and let's say I just wanted to create a simple tool path here for an ellipse, or we'll draw this ellipse over here. Maybe I'll make it 11 by 5, something like that, and create. Okay, so I've got a nice tool path here that we're going to use to cut out around the hideaway sign. So when I go into setting this up and say I want a profile tool path, that's going to do the cutting around of the hideaway sign here. It'll cut the outside of it. So we'll use a profile tool path. And then when we go into this tool menu to select the tool that we want to use, it brings up all kinds of stuff. And in this case, it defaulted to a 1/4 inch end mill. In this case, it has a part number 5730H. So inside of here, after I received all these different tools and was trying to figure out how to use them, I was able to set up my own library of components. So it's kind of interesting. By default, this is what I've added. The mech inventory for mechatronics inventory says, okay, this is what we actually have in the lab to use to cut these tools. And you can see I've divided them into subcategories for plastics, wood, and aluminum. However, the aluminum is blank because I don't have any aluminum cutters at this time. So under plastics, and it's not too bad to add different categories. I believe we can simply right click on these. Oh no, it was down here, these menus, where I gotta see what these pop up as. So down here we can add a group. So that would be like the mech inventory. We can add groups underneath this. So if I had another material here that I wanted to add another group to, I think I can be like at this level in the menu and then say I want to add a group for, let's say, composites. So, that popped up under aluminum. So I actually don't want that. So I think if you don't want it, there is a way that you can delete these categories. This little guy right here. So you can choose to delete that group, say yes. So I wanted to be at this highest level, then create a group down here, and that group would have a name of composites. So that might be a carbon fiber or a fiberglass material, and they make cutters specifically for that. I can hit apply, and now I've got another level here that I can add tools to. So it's pretty easy to make your own libraries, and I would encourage you to do this. So let's take a peek at one of the end mills, a 1/4 inch end mill. This particular one, I've got a few different 1/4 inch end mills. I tried to put a whole bunch of notes inside of the library that were related to that end mill, give it its number, and you can edit the name right here. So right here has some things that'll automatically type in if they're in the parentheses like that, or the curly braces. It populates that information from your tool type that's selected here, and the diameter is something you choose down here. So it's going to automatically say, okay, end mill, 1/4 inch diameter, and then you can edit way the heck over here and add the tool numbers. So for each of these guys, it had like little numbers on it that said, you know, what the tool number was, part number from Vortex. I decided to add those in there, and I'll just cancel that. Now it gets into a bunch of interesting things here about calculating the chip loads for a tool. So to talk a little bit more about that, let's just look at a couple of tools. So these are very large end mills for cutting steel or aluminum. And this particular one has 2 flutes to it. And here's another variety that actually has 4 flutes. Okay, so that's a 3/4 inch 4 flute end mill. And this is a 3/4 inch 2 flute end mill. So when you're talking about chip loads, it's essentially how large of chip can you remove at one time. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. In fact, there's 3 of them. So the 3 variables that are involved here are going to be how fast is that tool moving in its feed rate. And the feed rates are called inches per minute. So how fast is the tool moving along in a direction? And it could be a curve, it could be, at an angle, whatever. How fast is that tool moving? So here's a faster feed rate and here's a slower feed rate. Okay? The other factor that's involved is the RPMs that you're spinning the bit at. So how fast does the bit spin? And if you're spinning faster, it's going to be able to take a lot more cuts and make smaller chips. Okay? And then the final thing is the number of flutes. So those 3 variables, your feed rate, your RPMs, and the number of flutes make up your chip loads. Now, to help out a little bit with this, there's a fantastic website out there, the gdptooling.com, and we'll switch over to gdptooling.com and take a look at this. One of their resources that they have is called a chip load calculator. Cool. So let's take a look at their chip load calculator. And every material has different chip loads that are desirable to make it, to cut it. So here they have tables that go through and show us these are chip loads for different diameters of tools, and are they hardwood, softwood, particle board, plastics, hard plastics. So we can choose those different materials. And then down at the bottom they have a chip load calculator. So what we want to do is get this answer here, your chip load, to equal one of these values depending on the material that we're cutting and the number of flutes that it has and the feed rates that we're using. So let's use a 1/4 inch end mill in hardwood, and that's what we're dealing with here today. So we want our answer to be at 0.009 inches to 11 thousandths of an inch. So 9 thousandths to 11 thousandths of an inch is the desired chip load for a hardwood material and a 1/4 inch tool diameter. So let's put these numbers in here and try to get to that value. So the RPMs, we can spin our router up to 18,000 RPMs. The feed rate that we're going to be using is probably around 300. And we are using a 2 flute cutter. So if that's the case, you'd see our chip load here is 0.008. Well, that's a little bit light, so we can actually cut this faster. So I'm going to try to increase the feed rate, and that put me right in the middle of where we'd like to be. So for a 1/4 inch cutter, if I use a feed rate of 350 inches per minute, 18,000 RPMs with a 2 flute cutter, my chip load will be 0.010, 10 thousandths of an inch, and that is right in the parameters of this table. So let's take that information back into the V Carve software. Okay, so we were going to have a feed rate of 350 inches per minute and 18,000 RPMs. There's a 2 flute cutter, and there's the chip load. It's generating, and that says it's 9.7 thousandths of an inch, but that's perfect. We are right where we'd like to be. So those are the correct parameters for this material to cut with this style of cutter. So you'll want to set these up for each of your individual cutters And once they're set in there and saved, if you're cutting mostly one type of material, you can set these parameters up and just have it be fixed, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So the other features that are in here are dealing with passover cutters. So that's basically if we removed a 1/4 inch pass of material, the next cut would only take off 1/8 of an inch. So it's the passover is how far over are you cutting. So it's basically the diameter of the tool. So in this case we're going, I'm sorry, the pass step. The step over is the feature I was getting at. So this is 0.1. If it was 1/8 inch, 0.125, that's going to be 50% of the cutter, and that's pretty decent. So the first pass that it's going to go through, remove a bunch of material, that 1/4 inch wide. The next pass, it'll only take off 1/8 of an inch. So you can experiment with these and see what works for your parameters, for your settings. And then in this case, we just hit apply, and we can close this, and all those parameters are going to be saved in here and ready to go. So let's talk just a little bit more about this, where I'm going to select that outer ellipse and make the cut. So we have some options when we're doing a profile cut. First of all, how deep is that cut? And in this case, I want it to go all the way through the material. So I'm going to set it up for 0.7, probably 0.78. The material thickness is 0.75, so it's only 20 thousandths more than the material thickness. We already got the end mill set up. The number of passes, let me edit this a little bit because it says it's going to take 11 passes to make that. So it's going to create the first pass, drop down, create another one, and I think each pass is set up over here. The pass depth, I can go deeper than 0.075. I wouldn't go any deeper than the diameter of the tool. So in this case, it's a 1/4 inch diameter tool. I wouldn't go deeper than a 1/4 inch in its depth. To be safe, I think I'm going to choose about 0.2 inches here and apply this and close it. All right, so here I should be able to edit the passes, and it'll tell me how many passes it's going to take. It's still set up at 11, so that's kind of curious, but I wonder what happened here if I edit this one more time. The pass depth, oh, it didn't save pass depth, so I was going to set that to 0.2 and hit OK. Now the number of passes dropped to 4, so after 4 passes it'll be all the way through the material, and you can see those passes set up here. They look like they're about 0.2 inches apart. Here they are at 0.195, so we're in good shape. And then we can choose a couple of other things as far as how this is going to be cut. Should it be on the outside of this? Should it be on the inside? In this case, I do want it to be on the outside of that ellipse. And then we have the options of direction of cutting, so we're going to use climb cutting, and I think we're in good shape. Just going to scroll down a little bit more. I would like to add ramps, and what a ramp is going to do is instead of just having the tool plunge right in and start cutting, it's going to go at an angle, ramp down, then go around, make a pass, then it'll cut down at an angle and make a second pass. So we're going to choose that, and I think we're good to go. Hit calculate, and warning, it's going to cut through the material. Good, I want it to. So in this case, that's what I was expecting to see. And there we go. We can see the tool paths that are necessary, and I did change some sizes, so I'm going to reset the preview and preview all tool paths. Yeah, I didn't ever change that V Carve toolpath, so I'm going to delete this at the time. So reset and then hit play again, and you can see it's going to go through and take 4 passes in order to make that cut all the way through. So that's some of the details there about setting up your own tool library, using those resources that are available on the web, such as that chip load calculator. That's a fantastic tool. So just for peace of mind, to verify that the chip load calculator here, the parameter should match the type of material and what's recommended inside of this table. And then save your tool paths and see what happens. So good luck with your projects, and we'll catch you next time.